Today we're diving into the intriguing world of Gann's square of 9, focusing on the so-called three-digit controversy. This unique tool has fascinated traders and analysts for decades, offering a geometric approach to forecasting price movements. But as with any powerful tool, there are nuances and debates, especially when it comes to how we handle numbers with different digit lengths. In this video, we'll break down the controversy, explore practical examples, and help you understand how these calculations can impact your trading charts. Let's start by setting the stage with a quick overview of the square of 9 itself. Three-digit controversy refers to a debate about how to handle price levels when constructing square of 9 roadmap charts. Should you use the natural price, or should you convert it to a three-digit number before performing calculations? This question arises because the spacing of time lines and price angles on the chart can change dramatically depending on your approach. For example, using 84.26 versus 842.6 as your base price will yield different results. This seemingly small decision can affect the accuracy and usefulness of your chart, making it a hot topic among Gann enthusiasts. In building a square of 9 roadmap chart, the process typically starts by taking the square root of the starting pivot price. For example, if the pivot price is around 800, the square root is about 28, which becomes your time dimension, 28 bars. This time dimension remains constant, regardless of whether you're using daily, hourly, or weekly data. The key is that the time spacing interval is tied to the square root of your base price, but the controversy arises when the base price isn't a neat three-digit number. Let's examine the DJX hourly chart. Here, the base price is 84.26 and its square root is roughly 9. However, the vertical timelines on the chart are not separated by 9 bars. Why? Because before calculating, the base price was converted to 842.6 and then the square root, about 29, was used for the time spacing. This conversion is at the heart of the three-digit controversy. It shows how multiplying or dividing by factors of 10 can change the structure of your chart, affecting both the time and price dimensions. Why do many analysts prefer to use three digits for calculations? The main reason is consistency. Using three significant digits helps standardize the spacing of both price angles and time intervals across different charts. This approach can make your channel lines look more like normal trend lines, which helps in identifying reliable patterns. However, it's not a strict rule. Sometimes the natural price is more appropriate, especially when dealing with higher price level. Apply the three-digit rule. You typically multiply or divide your base price by 10 to reach a three-digit number before taking the square root. For example, 84.26 becomes 842.6. After performing your calculations, you convert the results back to the original scale for chart placement. This method is especially useful when using spreadsheet programs like Excel, where you can automate the conversion process. For printed or commercial charts, manual conversion may be necessary. It's important to note that the three-digit rule is a guideline, not a law. If your price levels are already in the thousands, converting to three digits may not make sense. For instance, if the SPX moves above 1,000, there's usually no need to convert to 100. The decision depends on the context and the price range you're working with. Flexibility and judgment are key. Sometimes, sticking with the natural price is the better choice. Choice of base price and conversion factor directly affects the appearance of your channel lines. The goal is to produce channels that contain price swings and allow prices to vibrate between the tops and bottoms of the squares. If your channels look unnatural or fail to capture the swings, it may be time to revisit your calculation method. Experimentation is crucial to finding the right combination for your specific chart. Another common question is which price to use as your base, the high, low, or closing price. The best practice is to use both the highest or lowest close and the extreme high or low for a swing, creating two separate charts. Over time, you can evaluate which base price produces more useful results for your analysis. This dual approach allows for greater flexibility and accuracy in capturing market behavior. Some cases you might want to add additional angles to your chart, such as 90-degree horizontal price lines. This can provide more detailed insight into price movements and help you identify key support and resistance levels. There's no universal rule for which angles to use. Experimentation and experience are your best guides. Try different combinations and see which ones best capture the market's behavior. Time spacing on the square of 9 chart can be calculated in several ways. The most common method is to use the square root of the three-digit base price, rounded to the nearest whole number. However, a more precise approach is to calculate the square root for each 180-degree angle, and use that as the time spacing for each horizontal line. This can result in time bars that slant slightly, especially in uptrends, but may provide better time-related accuracy at higher price level. Another variation is to use the natural price, and find the closest number on the square of 9 that matches your calculated time spacing. For example, if your calculation gives you 29.02, you might use the closest angle that yields 26.83, rounding to 27 bars for hand-drawn charts. This method can be especially helpful when working without digital tools, allowing for practical adjustments based on available data. There's often confusion about whether the channel lines on square of 9 roadmap charts represent specific Gann angles, like 1x1 or 1x2. In reality, these charts are constructed independently and may not correspond exactly to traditional Gann angles. Gann himself drew his charts by hand on specially scaled paper, a process not easily replicated on modern screens. The key takeaway is to use the roadmap chart as a standalone tool, rather than trying to force it to match historical definitions. No single method will work perfectly for every ticker or time frame. The art of using the square of 9 lies in experimentation and experience. Try different base prices, conversion factors, and time spacing methods. Over time, you'll develop an intuition for what works best in different market conditions. Remember, the goal is to create charts that help you understand and anticipate price movements, not to follow rigid formula. Wrap up, the three-digit controversy in Gann's square of 9 is less about strict rules and more about finding what works for your analysis. Whether you use natural or converted prices, experiment with different methods and focus on creating charts that make sense for your trading style. With patience and practice, you'll unlock the full potential of this fascinating tool. Thanks for watching and happy charting.